violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
That breaking news happening on Detroit's west side where two people are shot during an eviction. And we're going to start right there at noon. The victims were members of a group overseeing that eviction. Police are on the scene now. This is near the Schaefer Highway area and Fenkel. Sean Lay just on the scene this noon. Sean, what do we know?
Well, we know that serving an eviction, court officers and people helping court officers is one of the most dangerous things, can be, that court officers and the people working with them can do. We're on Leisure, right at Eaton. Take a look behind me because...
So I do want to bring up some realities and some statistics to you guys. As we know, apparently, you know, we hear this trope going on in the community and the culture, specifically amongst black and... black men and women. We hear that, okay, black women are the most educated and whatnot, which we already know that it's actually that they're the most enrolled, not necessarily the most demographic that actually graduates. But then we also see another daunting statistic that clearly states that black women are the most evicted demographic in the United States. So we have on one end this narrative that they're the most educated, when in all actuality the statistic just reflects that they're the most enrolled. But on another end, we see that they are the most evicted demographic in the United States. So they're kind of conflicting reports if you think about it in that way, because if you're more educated, you should be a higher earner and whatnot. I mean, these common conclusions that you would come to, you know, just by looking at the data alone, would make you think that, or make you summarize that, hey, this obviously has to be some ulterior motive behind the eviction frequency when it comes to black women. And in all actuality, I could tell you right now, I mean, there's no like manipulation of the numbers. What it is a lot of, and this isn't just black women, but people in general, when they are renting or living in a home for a long period of time, especially if they stop paying their rent at some time, they start to feel a certain level of entitlement. And I typically see this at a higher rate amongst sisters than pretty much anybody else.
See all those those police markers, the yellow ones? Look at those. Those indicate gunshots coming from an assault weapon, where someone jumped out of a car and started firing that assault weapon into a car at two court officers and two people who were there to help the court officers serve an eviction across the street.
Wow.
We have cameras here taking video. You can see it right here. This happened about an hour ago here on Leisure, right at Eaton. Very active scene right now as police investigate. They're looking for the person who fired those shots. Now, the people in the car who were helping the court officers who were shot in the arm and leg. This could have been so much worse. They didn't stick around. They drove themselves right to the hospital. Here's the commander updating us.
It was an assault type rifle that was used. We are recovering some spent casings at this time. And as I stated, we're just looking to identify this individual as soon as possible.
We are told both people here to help the eviction, they're going to be okay. Driving themselves, Jason, to the hospital. You can tell, though, very active scene here, and police are now trying to work up a car and suspect description. As soon as we get it, we'll get it right to you. We're live on the west side. Sean Lay, Local 4, back to you.
Yeah, amazing they are okay after seeing all of those shell casings. Sean, we appreciate it.
Here in Metro Detroit, after a 2-year...
She go.
Legal battle. A tiny home resident is being forcibly removed today. Moments ago, bailiffs made their way inside of this home. Tara Brown is fighting the eviction and is vowing not to leave. But Cass Community Social Services says that Brown violated the conditions of the tiny house program.
What did I tell you guys about the entitlement? And now it looks like she done hired a whole neighborhood army to fight for a home that she doesn't even own. Bro, these women are out of their darn minds. And they got you white knight simps, or should I say you dark knight simps, who are out here just coming at their beck and call. Don't know if the woman ain't paid rent in 9 months. You just pulling up, talking about, we ain't finna kick her out. She got kids. And bruh, if she don't get her behind out, if she ain't paying rent, she gotta go.
And has to go. Victor Williams is there on the scene. And Victor, I can see there's a flurry of activity behind you right now.
Oh yeah, guys, things have been very intense this morning. These tires were supposed to be used as barriers, in a sense, to keep the court officers from going in with all of the people that were in front of this home as well, but they were unsuccessful. Take a look at what played out earlier as protesters went head-to-head with court officers trying to prevent them from making it inside to evict Tara Brown, who is suffering from stage 5 kidney failure. Over a dozen officers from DPD were here as well, but they were staying.
And you know what? Sorry for her health issues, but at the end of the day, that's on you, ma'am. That's on your health insurance provider, which she probably doesn't have any. What were you doing all this time during that eviction moratorium when, let's keep it a buck, most of these sisters stopped paying their rent when that eviction moratorium came up and they were not required to pay their rent. Most of them stopped paying their rent. I mean, it's just the reality.
Back only intervening when things got too physical. Now, all of these tiny homes in the area of Monterey Street are owned by Cass Community Social Services, better known as CCSS. Now, Brown claims that she hasn't missed any payments and believes that she's only being evicted because she's been very critical of Reverend Fowler and CCSS, but multiple...
Bruh, that's cap. I guarantee she done miss payments.
Organizations have joined the fight to stop this eviction, including Detroit Eviction Defense, standing in front of every entrance. Hear from Tristan Taylor, who was right on the front lines.
That's what it takes. I mean, I don't know any moment in history where justice prevails.
Bruh, this is a crackhead. Oh my God. They're saying, oh, a protester, dude, this is a crackhead.
People don't have to put their bodies on the line to be framed. And, we are the people who don't mind.
This is an LGBT crackhead. This is crazy, y'all. This is wild.
To just hang around and chill and have a barbecue. We're not the ones who are initiating the conflict, but we are here.
You're not initiating the conflict? You're preventing an eviction from going down. You're the problem.
To stand strong, defend Tara and this house and ourselves.
Now, once again, Mrs. Brown is being evicted. We have seen a lot of her belongings brought out of this home, a lot of them thrown away. But we have not heard anything back from Reverend Fowler, so we're hoping to hear back from her soon. We did end up speaking to Tara just a few minutes ago, and we'll have what she had to say at 5 p.m. Victor Williams, Local 4.
Yo, what's good, BGZM News 17 family? I'm at the corner of Jesse Jackson and Marcus Garvey, and I got some bad news for you. As you can see, I lost my job. I'm out here living in cardboard boxes outside of boarded up vacant homes. YouTube said I'm done getting money out here in these streets. They even took my funky ass suit. So anything right now would help. So go ahead and hit that Cash App, hit that PayPal, hit that GoFundMe. Hell, cop the merch. Or if you want to make the long-term commitment to the Jinquavius Jackson Fund, join the Patreon so that I can continue to put out top-notch content each and every day. Also, check out the Rumble, where there is absolutely no censorship. Link in the description box below.
Hey, yo, ain't that nigga did Quavius? Yo, I recognize.
No, that's not me no more.
Hey, yo, run your pop.
Y'all kill me with this shit.
Do the opposite of Antonio Brown and take
What
all your
more do you want from me?
Today at a Detroit tiny home as bailiffs tried to evict a woman who refused to leave. The saga between Tara Brown and Cass Community Social Services has been playing out for months, and today the situation finally came to a head. Victor Williams was there as things turned violent. Victor.
Yeah, Kimberly, talk about an intense situation. You had dozens of protesters that were refusing to let this woman be evicted, but at the same time you had court officers refusing to let her stay.
We're going in. You're in the way.
Things turned chaotic between protesters and court officers during an eviction on Detroit's west side, with a few dozen officers from DPD watching on.
The bailiffs, actually, they've been roughing up people who've been defending Tara's house.
Tara Brown.
Well, I mean, they deserve it, bro. They're impeding on a lawful court-ordered eviction. I mean, this is crazy that you got people trying to forcibly stay in a home that they're not welcome in anymore. She talking about she done kept up on the rent, and bruh, I guarantee she has not kept up on rent. That sound like hella cap. She probably paid the rent after the eviction notice was given, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I was gonna pay it anyway. When she get the final paperwork, she catch up on the rent.
Brown is the one being put out of her tiny home through a court-ordered eviction. She claims it's all because she spoke out against her landlord, Reverend Fowler, with Cass Community Social Services, better known as CCSS.
This is what a home defense looks like, and this is what landlords can expect when they go to retaliate against tenants and throw them out. This is a lie. She told people that she was giving us tiny houses.
Protesters from multiple organizations, including the...
Giving is a stretch. Allowing to rent is different from giving. I told you these sisters have entitlement issues. You're not entitled to this tiny house just because you signed a lease agreement. Should be common sense. I thought y'all were the most educated.
Detroit eviction defense have taken it on themselves to make sure Tara stays in her home, and although all of her belongings were taken out, some protesters are refusing to accept that even now.
We need to keep people in their homes right now. There is no housing available.
And then they done tricked, I don't know if he's Asian or if he's just a straight glider, but they done tricked the white guys. Oh man. This is why there really is no solutions, because if they can trick him into defending this mess, I mean, game over, bruh.
For people in Detroit.
Feeling confident about fighting back, and we're not done. We're just getting started.
Now, in response, Reverend Fowler sent us the following statement, which reads, CCSS tried to exercise extreme care to avoid the emotional event that took place at the tiny homes this morning. We never condone violence and planned with the courts, law enforcement, and additional parties to make sure people, Ms. Brown, the protesters, the bailiffs, police, neighbors, staff, and onlookers would not be injured or arrested. Conversely, Ms. Brown and the outside group have been announcing for weeks that she would not vacate the home and that they plan to use any means necessary to avoid the court-ordered eviction. And that's exactly what we're seeing playing out with many of these protesters right back here in front of the home. Victor Williams, Local 4.
All right, Vic.
Chaos breaks out as a woman... Chaos breaks out as a woman is evicted from her tiny home in the city of Detroit, and it was all caught on camera. The woman believes she was wrongfully kicked out, and dozens of supporters tried to block that eviction. But the organization that manages the tiny home say that eviction was legal and court-ordered. Gino Vici spoke to the woman who was evicted and has more on what she plans to do. He reports from Detroit's west side.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's what a home defense looks like. We were standing in solidarity to protect my interests.
This was the scene as Tara Brown was legally evicted. As you can see, it was complete chaos. Brown and her supporters set up these barricades around her tiny home to try to...
This is absolutely ridiculous. Talking about this is what a home defense looks like. This isn't your home, though. Like, black folks got an issue with trying to claim things that we don't own. Kind of how, like, the super gremlins are deleting each other over blocks that they don't own. Projects that are owned by the government. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Stop the impending eviction. Brown believes the management team ran by Cass Corridor Social Services, aka CCSS, decided not to renew her lease because she was outspoken against some of the practices happening in the community.
Yep, it was retaliation because you don't have a reason not to renew because I was the most compliant in the program.
Brown says she fought her eviction for 2 years. She says she's on dialysis and even put rent in an escrow account after management refused to accept her payment. But on Tuesday, this was the scene as bailiffs...
See, so she put rent in an escrow account after management refused her payment. I guarantee they refused her payment because she wasn't paying before. They served her the eviction notice. Then she tried to pay on the back end and get caught up on the back rent or the late rent. And they wouldn't accept it because they already served her the eviction notice. So then she put it in an escrow account to make it seem like she was on time and she was willing to pay on time. Dude, I know the game. So especially when it comes to renting, as you guys know, I do own real estate. I am in the real estate business. I'm not going to dox myself completely, but you know, I understand how this game goes and the little tricks that tenants play. And that's exactly the game that she's playing. She wasn't keeping up on her rent. She stopped paying once that moratorium hit and they said you don't have to pay rent anymore. She stopped paying the rent. And then when they said you got to start paying again, she didn't want to pay. And they served her in eviction after giving her ample time to pay and catch up on back rent. Because they're not just going to say, oh, eviction moratorium, you're good on the time that you didn't have to pay. No, you have, if you want to stay in that residence, you had to catch up on back rent, and then you had to, you know, pay whatever to keep you current. She wasn't willing to do that. They served her the eviction notice. Then she goes and puts the rent in an escrow account because they're no longer accepting her rent payments because they already served her in an eviction. Dude, these women think they're slick and they can spin this story. Man, I heard this 1,000 times. She's full of shit.
Showed up to evict her.
He has a weapon in his hand!
It got so out of hand, Detroit police had to be called to the scene.
You have no business.
The organization behind running this development says this was a legal eviction, and this eviction ended with a legal court order. CCSS has maintained Brown was in fact not compliant because she didn't live at the tiny home full time. Even after being evicted, Brown says she plans to continue her legal fight.
Well, I'm definitely going to follow up with some legal stuff. People have been reaching out to me from everywhere, so I don't think I'll have the problems finding representation that I had before.
In Detroit, Gino Vici, CBS News, Detroit.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
So it is what it is.